Eden Memorial Chapels understands Jewish funerals can take many forms. Some are very Orthodox, while others are more conservative or of a Reformed nature. There's no one better in New York or New Jersey. Go to EdenMemorial.com.
It's Croctober, the official celebration of Crocs fans like you. So whether you like to rock your classic clogs, get cozy and fuss-lined, personalize with your favorite Jibbitz charms, or even, dress up like a clog for Halloween, it's time to tell your story and share your style. Join the Croctober celebration with Crocs fans around the world. Go to Crocs.com to discover the range of shoes and find a pair that's iconic like you. Crocs, celebrating you all month long.
From Wall Street to the White House, this is the Larry Kudlow Show.
So, the murdering terrorist, evil thug, Sinwar, Hamas leader, was finally killed by the IDF. Big news. Prime Minister Netanyahu called it light is prevailing over darkness. All that is correct. Question is, what happens next? And we bring in my dear friend, Ambassador Robert O Brien, former National Security Advisor in the Trump administration, and now Chairman of American Global Strategies. Robert, thank you for this on a Saturday, as always. So I'm reading the front of the Wall Street Journal is saying the Biden administration wants the war to end. They want more aid into Gaza, which is always run by Hamas. The aid, they just take it over. I guess Sinwar's brother is going to be the new leader. I mean, what do you think is going to happen now? What happens in your judgment?
What I think is going to happen is something we haven't seen in these wars on terror for the last 20 years. Bibi Netanyahu has decided to go a different route. He wants victory.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of a forever war, he's going to win. He's taken out Nasrallah and the entire Hezbollah leadership up north. He's now taken out Sinwar in the south, and he's going to get the brothers soon. That brother's not long for this earth. And he's going to win the war. And look, Larry, you remember that's what we did. President Trump did against ISIS.
Mm-hmm.
We won the war against ISIS, and then we took out Baghdadi and brought justice to him for killing Caleb Mueller and the other Americans and many others. And so Bibi's gone a different route. The Biden-Harris administration wants a forever war, but Israel can't sustain a forever war. They're a small country. There's 6 million people, and so they've got to win, and they're going to win. And congratulations to Bibi Netanyahu.
Robert O'Brien, what's the point of calling for a ceasefire? Hamas never agrees to a ceasefire, and what's the point of more aid into Gaza? It sounds wonderful, humanitarian aid. But we know that at least half of those trucks are commandeered by Hamas, if not more. I mean, what's the point of all that?
Larry, are you there? I think I've lost you.
I'm here. We still having a connection, Robert O'Brien? All right, we're going to get him back. I want to, talk to Robert O'Brien, who's a brilliant guy, former National Security Advisor to Mr. Trump. I don't understand, folks. The Biden position just, again, seems so appeasing to Hamas. It's as though nothing has changed. I mean, you can call for a ceasefire. We still have 100 or so hostages there. I don't know how many of them are still alive, how many of them have passed away, have been killed. There are 4 or 5 Americans in that hostage group. All right, we got Mr. O'Brien back. Robert, the question I had was...
Larry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. You got me? Hello? You got me? I'm
not getting the audio from New York.
All right. Well, we'll work on that some more. Stay with us, Robert. Hold on. Stay with. Anyway, folks, I just don't understand the Biden position. And furthermore, the question of Iran, which is never cooperative, they want to fight back. And as I understand it, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, are preparing a massive assault on Iran. All right. Do we have Robert O'Brien back?
Larry, can you hear me?
Yep. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
You can. All right.
All the way from California.
I'll have to talk more loudly. So my question was, I've got 2 questions. One is, a ceasefire with Hamas, whoever they are, seems to me a non-starter. And the hostages is still about 100 or so hostages, including some Americans. That's point number one, Robert. Point number two, Iran. Iran's not giving up, and Israel is allegedly preparing an attack. I don't know. They say they're not going to do the oil fields or the nuclear facilities, but they will hit military spots. I mean, what do you think about this?
Well, number one, on the ceasefire, no ceasefire until Hamas gives the hostages back. That's the number one. Mm. And we ought to have our special operators helping the Israelis rescue those hostages. Point number two. As far as Iran goes, what's amazing is the Biden administration is negotiating for the Iranians, trying to convince the Israelis not to hit their nuclear sites and their oil sites. The best thing Israel could do for the West is to take out the Iranian nuclear program, if they can, and save us from Iran getting a nuclear weapon, and stop their oil sales, which all that money goes to fund terrorism. So why the Biden administration is shilling for the and the Harris administration is shilling for the Iranians, trying to protect them from an Israeli counter-assault, is just amazing.
So they're making the same mistake. It's appeasement. That's all it is. And
it's rank appeasement.
Rank appeasement. Okay, so the point. I mean, my view. Look, you're the expert. I'm not, but I think we should just let the IDF be the IDF. Let the IDF do what they're going to do. Get out of the way. And Robert O'Brien, they will succeed, and the whole world will thank them for this at some point in the future. Israel is going to save the Western civilization from itself.
It's amazing. We've got this little country of 6 million people that's fighting the war for the entire Western world. And instead of thanking them, we're trying to shackle them, and we're letting Western institutions like the ICC, the International Criminal Court, go after Bibi Netanyahu when they should be going after the terrorist killers and hostage takers of Hamas and Hezbollah. It's ridiculous.
Well, so once again, the Biden-Harris, they're going the wrong way here. They're just jumping on the wrong ship, just like they always do.
Yeah, it's, Secretary Gates, former defense secretary, said about Biden, he's made every wrong decision on foreign policy in his entire career. And they're doing it again here the last 2 or 3 months of his administration. November 5th can't come quickly enough, and getting Donald Trump back in the White House can't come quickly enough. Because as we showed, Larry, when we were in the White House with President Trump, peace through strength works. That's from our old friend Ronald Reagan, who we both got our start with. And remember when the Iranians attacked us, what Reagan did, he sank their Navy and sank a bunch of their offshore oil platforms. And we didn't hear anything from the Iranians for several years. Mm-hmm. We got to do the same thing here.
100%. That's what I think, 100%. And we can overcome that by turning our fossil fuel spigots back on full bore. Okay. Madeline says, I got to ask you about attacks on American technology companies from Europe and Asia. All right, I'm going to give you the last minute on this.
Thank you. Look, we've seen with the Israelis how important tech is in maintaining our freedoms and our dominance militarily and economically. And yet, unfortunately, in both Europe especially, but also in places like South Korea, which is really surprising, they've decided if they can't out-innovate American companies, our big tech companies, they're going to put antitrust fines on them and ridiculous taxes on them. President Trump stopped it, but now that it's basically a wealth transfer. The Europeans and to some of the Asian countries have decided if they can't out-innovate us, they'll just take money from our tech companies. Every dollar they take from us is a dollar that can't be invested in quantum computing and AI to stay ahead of the Chinese. So it's a real problem for us. Again, President Trump will stop it. He's the solution.
South Korea is doing this, and Taiwan, we own them.
Yeah, well, it's amazing that the South Koreans are doing it because they've got massive investments in America, yeah, and with their auto industry and their chip making industry, and so to come after American tech companies is not very smart on their part. And hopefully, with some real leadership in the White House, we'll sit down with them and explain to them the folly of it and get back to tech dominance for America and the West and our allies. Well, it's in their interest as well.
Trump will use tariffs. He'll use tariffs and threaten them.
Well, he did it against President Macron. You'll recall when they tried to do the digital services tax. Mm-hmm. Trump just said, okay, we'll put tariffs on champagne and French wine. And that was the end of it. Unfortunately, the Biden folks are actually encouraging Melina Khan and her ilk at the FTC are actually encouraging the Europeans and the Koreans and Japanese to do this and harm our companies. And remember, like if our companies aren't doing the research and aren't building the quantum computers and doing the AI, it's going to be just Beijing, and then we're in real trouble.
Wow. You know, I used to love champagne cocktails, but I haven't had one in almost 30 years.
Good for you,
as a public service. But you're Madeline told I had to ask these questions, so I'm thrilled to ask these questions. Robert O'Brien, there's nobody better than you. Folks, Ambassador Robert O'Brien, former National Security Advisor, Mr. Trump. I personally think O'Brien should go back in the second Trump administration, be the Secretary of State or some such thing. But that's up to him. He's chairman of the American Global Strategy. He's a very dear friend. Thank you, my friend. Folks, we'll take a quick break. On the other side, Ken Kachigian, who was chief speechwriter and political advisor to Presidents Reagan and Nixon, has thoughts on how Trump can win this election. I'm Kudlow. We'll be right back.
Larry Kudlow.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.